Today, I'm going to talk about how to read a nutritional label. Este episodio también está disponible en español. So when we look at nutritional labels, it can be incredibly confusing. So I want to start with just some broad strokes to feel like you're walking into the grocery store with some tips on how to read a label with confidence. Number one, if you're looking at a box, on the front of the box, it's an advertisement. They want you to buy that product. So really important to turn that box around and look at the nutritional label. And there are many different aspects. So starting at the top of the nutritional label, we have your servings per container, and it tells you how many servings are in that. So if I'm buying cookies, for example, it tells me how many serving sizes, how many servings I'm getting in that container. So the difference between and the portion size is how much I may choose to eat. So if I'm gonna buy those cookies and buy the entire and eat the entire box, I have to keep that into account and do my math accordingly. The next one is the calories. And with the calories here, the calories listed are for one serving size. So again, do your math if you're gonna eat the whole container. And without judgment, just knowing, okay, let me get the full information. And the average person, there's a lot of variables, but the average person needs about 2,000 calories a day. So just keeping that math in there. And then on the right side of the nutritional label, it gets a little bit confusing because there's the percent daily value on the right. So really broad strokes to keep in mind. If it's less than 5%, that's considered low. And if it's more than 20%, that's considered high. So in the top portion of that section with the percents, you have the things you want to be low. So things like your certain fats and your sodium, for example. So again, less than 5% is considered low, higher than 20% is considered high. So we're looking at the fats. We have saturated fat information, cholesterol information, and then we look at the sodium. The average person, we do not want to exceed 2,300 milligrams of sodium. So that's 2,300 milligrams. So again, you can start doing your math for the day. If you're getting something packaged, you might realize that there's a lot of sodium in there. You might choose a different product instead. So next we have the sugars. And what the important part to keep in mind with the sugars is that there's the natural sugar that a food will have, like a whole fruit, for example, and then there's the added sugars that are put in wherever this food was made. So for example, if I'm eating plain yogurt, naturally it's going to have about 10 grams of sugar. That's from the lactose that's normal in yogurt making. But if I get a flavored yogurt, even vanilla or strawberry or any other flavor, it can go from having 10 grams of sugar to 20 to 35 grams of sugar. So that means 10 to 25 of those grams of sugar are added sugar. Better to buy the plain yogurt and add sweetness as I desire. So maybe I want to cut up some berries and put in there. Or maybe I do want a little bit of jam in there and I can choose my favorite flavored jam and put that in there, a little bit of honey. But again, I'm controlling and deciding how much sweetener is in there. Last, if we're looking at three broad strokes to think about, is if I am buying bread and I've decided to start eating more whole grains, I want each slice of bread to have 3 grams of fiber at least. Same if I'm having whole wheat pasta, for example. And again, if it says wheat on the front, you want to make sure that it is a whole wheat product when you're buying it. The next one is if I'm buying a breakfast cereal or if I'm buying a meal substitute bar, quick math here. So your grams of protein plus your grams of fiber should be more than your grams of sugar. So to repeat that, your grams of protein plus your grams of fiber, you want that to be more than your grams of sugar. So that's really helpful, again, in those two sections. So those are the pieces really to think about. I hope you enjoyed today's episode about how to read a nutritional label.